Hi, I'm Kristen from The Art of Narrative, and today we're talking about rising action. We'll start with a definition of rising action, move on to an example of rising action from Romeo and Juliet. But first, let's answer the obvious question. What is rising action? The rising action is part of a story that builds conflict through decisions made by the protagonist or events that happen to the protagonist. Each of these events creates tension until we reach a climactic event or point of no return. Rising action takes place after the exposition or beginning of the story. During the exposition, the author introduces our main characters. The author will also tell us about the story's setting, usually by showing the characters' ordinary lives. Rising action starts with a story beat called the inciting event. This event or events is a story beat where some force moves the protagonist out of their ordinary world. The rising action is where the story truly begins. The rising action starts when your character sets off to find something. What the character is looking for could be physical, like a hidden treasure, or symbolic. The character may be on the hunt for purpose or self-respect. The point is, your character will set off on a journey to find something. Along the way, the protagonist will make decisions that they believe will get them closer to their ultimate goal. Some of those decisions will work out, while others will blow up in the character's face. All of the character's actions will raise the stakes of the story. The tension will build until the story hits a breaking point or the midpoint of the story. Let's talk about why rising action is important. The rising action is what keeps readers or viewers engaged in a plot. In a story, you need things to happen to keep the plot moving. But a plot isn't just a retelling of events. In a narrative, there should be a clear pattern of cause and effect. A character will start with a problem. Usually they will want something. So the protagonist will set off to try and find that thing they want. Along the way, they will make decisions and take action. They will plunge deeper into their search with each move, and things will become more complicated than they realize. Your character will get in over their head, and the tension of the story will gradually rise as the stakes increase. This pattern of rising tension will continue until the character hits a point of no return, a climax. This climax usually makes the end of rising action and the start of a story's final act. This gradual increase of tension and stakes is what keeps a reader engaged. To get a better understanding of this subject, let's look at an example of rising action in action. We talked about how rising action begins with a character discovering they want something and ends in a climax or point of no return. Let's see how this pattern plays out in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Part 1. The protagonist discovers a desire. Our story begins in fair Verona. Romeo is depressed over his love for a girl, Rosalind. He agrees to attend a Capulet ball with Mercutio and Benvolio in hopes of seeing Rosalind. However, he meets Juliet and falls in love with her instead. Romeo's family, the Montagues, are at war with Juliet's Capulets. This feud doesn't matter much to Romeo, but a Capulet, Tybalt, sees Romeo at the ball and is enraged. Remember Tybalt. He'll be important later. The protagonist begins a search to fulfill their want. After a chance encounter, Romeo discovers that he cannot live without this girl he just met. So, as any teenage boy would, he commits criminal trespassing. He finds Juliet and the two confess their undying love for each other. The stakes rise along with the tension. Romeo and Juliet decide to get married. Friar Tuck, hoping to end the feud between their families, performs Romeo and Juliet's wedding. Romeo and Juliet consummate their marriage, and this all happens in like a day. The climax or point of no return, Tybalt is enraged that Romeo crashed the Capulet ball. He finds Romeo and challenges him to a duel. Romeo, having just married a Capulet, now considers Tybalt family and refuses the challenge. Romeo's friend Mercutio steps in and duels Tybalt. Romeo tries to break up the fight, but Tybalt kills Mercutio. Raging Romeo forgets his newly formed family bond and kills Tybalt. Did I mention that Mercutio was kin to the Prince of Verona? Oh well, he was. And in this story, the prince acts as the town's mayor. So the prince banishes Romeo from fair Verona. And we have reached our point of no return. That's an example of how rising action works in a fictional story. Okay, that concludes today's topic. If you liked what you learned, please leave us a like God. Okay, that wraps up today's topic. If you liked what you learned and you want to follow us for more, please give us a like or subscribe. All right, have a good one. Talk soon. Okay, done.